Okay, let's be real for a second. There's nothing quite like walking into a garden that's bursting with color, right? Those vibrant blooms, the sweet fragrance in the air, butterflies dancing around. It's basically therapy you can grow. But here's where most people get stuck. They think growing a flower garden is complicated, expensive, or requires some kind of green thumb magic. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Today, I'm going to walk you through some of the best flower plants you can grow in your home garden, whether you've got a massive backyard or just a tiny balcony with a few pots. These are flowers that actually want to grow, that forgive beginner mistakes, and that'll give you those Instagram-worthy blooms without all the drama. And stick around till the end because I'm going to share the one flower that looks absolutely stunning, but is actually the biggest mistake beginners make. You'll want to know about this before you waste your money and effort. Marigolds, the ultimate beginner's flower. Let's kick things off with marigolds, and honestly, if you're new to flower gardening, this is where you need to start. Marigolds are basically the golden retrievers of the flower world. Friendly, reliable, and almost impossible to mess up. These cheerful orange and yellow blooms are ridiculously easy to grow from seed. You can literally just poke a hole in some soil, drop in a seed, cover it up, water it, and boom, you'll have sprouts in about a week. They grow fast, they bloom like crazy from summer all the way until the first frost, and they don't ask for much. Here's what makes marigolds even better: they're natural pest repellents. Plant them near your vegetable garden and they'll help keep aphids, mosquitoes, and other annoying bugs away. Plus, they attract pollinators like bees and butterflies, which is great for your whole garden. Marigolds love full sun, so give them at least 6 hours of direct sunlight a day. They're not picky about soil as long as it drains well. They don't like sitting in water. Water them when the top inch of soil feels dry, and deadhead the spent blooms regularly. That just means pinching off the dead flowers, which encourages the plant to make more blooms instead of setting seeds. You can grow marigolds in garden beds, borders, containers, hanging baskets, pretty much anywhere. They're compact, they don't get leggy or floppy, and they just keep pumping out flowers all season long. Zinnias. Color explosion in your garden. Next up, zinnias. If you want serious color variety and flowers that look like they belong in a professional bouquet, zinnias are your answer. These beauties come in practically every color except blue. Reds, pinks, oranges, yellows, purples, whites, and even some gorgeous bicolors with multiple shades on one flower. Zinnias are another super easy flower to grow from seed. They germinate quickly, usually within 5 to 7 days, and they grow fast. We're talking flowers in about 6 to 8 weeks from planting. They love hot weather, so they're perfect for those scorching summer months when other flowers might struggle. Plant zinnias in a spot that gets full sun. They need at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight to really thrive and produce those big, bold blooms. The soil should be well-draining and moderately fertile. You don't need anything fancy. Here's a pro tip. Plant zinnia seeds every couple of weeks throughout late spring and early summer. This gives you continuous blooms all season instead of one big flush that's over in a few weeks. It's called succession planting, and it's a game changer for keeping your garden colorful from June through October. One thing to watch out with zinnias is powdery mildew, that white dusty stuff that can show up on the leaves. To prevent this, make sure there's good air circulation around your plants. Don't crowd them too close together. Water at the base of the plant rather than from overhead, because wet leaves are more prone to fungal issues. Zinnias are fantastic as cut flowers too. The more you cut them, the more they bloom. So go ahead and bring some of that garden beauty inside. You're actually helping the plant produce even more flowers. Sunflowers. Instant happiness on a stem. All right, who doesn't love sunflowers? These giants are like sunshine on a stem, and they're shockingly easy to grow. There's something magical about watching a sunflower grow from a tiny seed into a towering plant with a massive flower head that literally follows the sun across the sky. Sunflowers come in all sizes, by the way. You've got the classic giant varieties that can reach 10 to 15 feet tall. Perfect if you want to create a living fence or a dramatic backdrop in your garden. Then there are dwarf varieties that stay around 2 to 3 feet tall, which are perfect for containers or smaller spaces. Plant sunflower seeds directly in the ground after the last frost date in your area. They don't transplant well, so direct sowing is the way to go. Push the seed about an inch deep into the soil, space them about 6 inches apart for smaller varieties or a foot apart for the giants, and keep the soil moist until they sprout. Sunflowers need full sun, and I mean full sun. At least 6 to 8 hours a day, more is even better. They're not picky about soil type as long as it drains well, but they do appreciate a bit of fertilizer when they're actively growing. Here's something cool about sunflowers. They're incredibly drought-tolerant once established. Their roots go deep, so they can find water even when the surface soil is dry. This makes them perfect for hot, dry climates or for gardeners who might forget to water occasionally. And hey, when those flower heads mature and the seeds develop, you've got snacks for the birds or even for yourself if you want to roast them. Just make sure to cover the flower heads with some netting if you want to save the seeds, or the birds will beat you to them. Petunias, the container garden superstar. Now let's talk petunias, because if you're growing flowers in containers, hanging baskets, or window boxes, petunias are absolutely where it's at. These flowers are prolific bloomers that come in every color you can imagine, and they cascade beautifully over the edges of pots. Petunias love full sun, but can tolerate a bit of partial shade, especially in really hot climates. They need at least 5 to 6 hours of sunlight to bloom their best. Plant them in well-draining potting soil. This is important because container plants are especially prone to root rot if they sit in soggy soil. Water petunias regularly, especially in containers where the soil dries out faster. They like to stay consistently moist but not waterlogged. During hot summer weather, you might need to water container petunias every day. Here's the secret to getting petunias to bloom like crazy all summer long: fertilizer and deadheading. Petunias are heavy feeders, meaning they use up nutrients quickly. Feed them with a water-soluble fertilizer every week or two, or use a slow-release granular fertilizer at planting time. Deadheading is super important with petunias. Those spent flowers need to be removed regularly, or the plant will put its energy into making seeds instead of making more blooms. Just pinch off the faded flowers and you'll keep that color coming strong. Cosmos, delicate beauty that's tough as nails. Cosmos are one of those flowers that look delicate and elegant but are actually incredibly tough and easy to grow. They've got these beautiful daisy-like flowers in shades of pink, white, Sorrentis, and Maida sitting on top of tall, feathery foliage that sways gracefully in the breeze. The best part about cosmos? They actually prefer poor soil. Yeah, you read that right. Rich, fertile soil makes cosmos grow lots of leaves but fewer flowers. So, if you've got a spot in your garden with less than ideal soil, cosmos will thrive there. Sow cosmos seeds directly in the garden after the last frost. They germinate quickly and grow fast. Within a few weeks, you'll have plants, and within 2 months, you'll have flowers. They bloom continuously from midsummer until frost, and they reseed themselves readily, so you might find them popping up year after year without any effort on your part. Cosmos need full sun to bloom well, at least 6 hours a day. They're drought-tolerant once established, so they don't need much watering. In fact, overwatering can make them grow too tall and floppy. Cut cosmos freely for bouquets. Like zinnias, the more you cut them, the more they bloom. They make fantastic cut flowers and last about a week in a vase. Lavender. Fragrance and beauty combined. Let's talk about lavender, because this is one flower that gives you beauty, fragrance, and even some practical uses all in one package. Those purple spikes of flowers smell absolutely incredible, and they attract bees and butterflies like crazy. Lavender is a perennial, meaning it comes back year after year. It's a bit pickier than some of the other flowers on this list, but once you understand what it needs, it's actually pretty low maintenance. The number one thing lavender needs is excellent drainage. This plant absolutely hates wet feet. If your soil holds water and stays damp, lavender will develop root rot and die. If you've got heavy clay soil, you'll need to amend it heavily with sand and compost or grow lavender in raised beds or containers where you can control the soil better. Lavender loves full sun. The more, the better. It's a Mediterranean plant, so it's adapted to hot, dry, sunny conditions. Give it at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight daily. Once established, lavender is incredibly drought tolerant. In fact, it prefers to be on the dry side. Water it regularly for the first few weeks after planting to help it establish roots, but after that, only water during extended dry spells. Prune lavender in early spring before new growth starts, cutting back about a third of the plant. This keeps it compact and encourages more blooms. You can also harvest the flower spikes throughout the blooming season to use in dried arrangements, sachets, or even cooking. Nasturtiums. Edible flowers with serious impact. Here's something fun. Nasturtiums are edible flowers. The blooms, leaves, and even the seed pods have a peppery flavor that's amazing in salads. But even if you never eat them, they're worth growing just for their beauty. Nasturtiums come in vibrant oranges, reds, and yellows with round lily pad-like leaves. They're incredibly easy to grow from seed. Just poke those big seeds into the soil and they'll sprout within a week or two. These flowers actually prefer poor soil, just like cosmos. Rich soil makes them produce lots of leaves, but fewer flowers. They also don't need much water once established. In fact, they bloom better when they're a bit stressed from dry conditions. Nasturtiums are great for trailing over the edges of containers or raised beds. They bloom from summer until frost. And they recede readily if you let some flowers go to seed. One cool thing about nasturtiums, they're a trap crop for aphids. Aphids love nasturtiums even more than they love your vegetables. So, planting nasturtiums near your veggie garden can lure the aphids away from your food crops. The flower to avoid. The beautiful mistake. All right, now for that warning I promised. The flower that looks absolutely stunning at the garden center, but is actually a nightmare for beginners. Roses. Now, before rose lovers come after me, hear me out. Roses are gorgeous, they're classic, they're romantic, but modern hybrid tea roses, those perfect long-stemmed beauties, are incredibly high maintenance. They need constant feeding, regular deadheading, specific pruning techniques, disease prevention, pest control, and winter protection in cold climates. For a beginner trying to create a beautiful flower garden, roses can be discouraging because they require so much specialized care. When beginners plant roses expecting them to be as easy as petunias or marigolds, they often end up with spindly plants covered in black spot or aphids. If you really want roses, start with landscape roses or shrub roses. These varieties are much more disease-resistant and forgiving. But for your first flower garden, stick with the easier options we've talked about. Here's the beautiful thing about growing flowers. There's no wrong way to do it. You can plant them in neat, organized rows if you like things tidy. You can mix them all together in a cottage garden explosion of color. You can stick to one color scheme for a more sophisticated look, or you can plant every color of the rainbow just because it makes you happy. Start with a few of the easy flowers from this list. Maybe marigolds and zinnias in your garden beds, some petunias in containers on your porch, and a few sunflowers along the fence for that wow factor. See what grows well in your specific conditions, your soil, your climate, your amount of sun. Pay attention to what works and what struggles. Not every plant will thrive in every garden, and that's okay. Part of the fun is figuring out which flowers love your space. And remember, flowers are meant to bring joy. They're not a test you have to pass. If a plant dies, it's not a personal failure. Sometimes plants just don't make it. Learn what you can from it and try something else. So what's it going to be? Are you Team Marigolds for that easy success? Team Zinnias for maximum color? Or maybe you're going all in with those towering sunflowers? Drop a comment and let me know what you're planting. And if you've got questions about any of these flowers, ask away. Happy gardening, and here's to a season full of beautiful blooms.